In our last issue, Scott was wanted for the murder of the Living Pharaoh. His brother Alex is missing, and the Xmen are hot on his trail. See what happens in part 2, in the 55th issue of Tommy Reads X-Men. Let's roll that intro. Tommy Reads X-Men. Tommy Reads X-Men. It's cool. What's going on? It's your boy back at you again with another Tommy Reads X-Men, the show in which I read each issue of X-Men and give my own unique opinion about it. Today, we're looking at X-Men number 55 from April 1969, written by Roy Thomas. He's back on the book with art by Warner Roth. This one's called The Living Pharaoh. The action starts off right away in this issue. We start with Scott versus the Living Pharaoh, picking up from last issue where we left off, where he discovers his underground lair. Now, if you haven't seen Tommy Reads X-Men number 54, I'm going to leave the link down in the description so you can check it out. But it picks up basically right where the issue leaves off. So Scott and the Living Pharaoh are fighting it out, and it's a really good fight, y'all. They're going toe-to-toe, punch for punch, and even the Living Pharaoh's like, dang, this kid can fight. And Scott's like, man, this Pharaoh can fight. And meanwhile, he's asking him, like, where's Alex Summers? Now, he don't want to give up that Alex is his brother yet, because it might cause problems for him later on. So they're keeping that. But he's like, where's this Alex Summers kid? Now, meanwhile, the X-Men and the cops are both looking for Scott, because as far as they know, Scott murdered the Living Pharaoh, and that's why they're looking for him. There was an APB. It was a whole thing from last issue. But click that link and you'll see what I'm talking about. So Jean uses her psychic powers with her mind. And she's like, oh, I picked up Scott. There he is. And he's like, And in that 1 second, he gets boom. I don't know why he backhanded him. Like, he paintbrushed him, gave him a quick two-piece, and Scott's knocked out. And so they toss his body along with a giant mummy tomb-looking thing, like, you know, the kind that are like that or whatever. And they throw him in there in a plane. And so Scott has this, like, helmet over him that he can't use his optic blast. And he's like, oh, what's the deal with this thing? And then, like, how is he breathing? You know, if he can't shoot the thing and it's, like, skin tight on him, how is he breathing? How is he able to talk while the Living Pharaoh's talking to him? And he's like, no, yeah, I can't get out and whatever. And then they leave him. The first time they leave him, it comes up again later. But they leave him, and then he hears, like, and that's mumbling, if you don't know. And so he hears it from the tomb, and for some reason, he just assumes that's Alex. And he's right. Like, how did he even get in that tomb? Was there a bunch of panels? Is there a side explanation? Nah. He just in there. Now, I know you're asking yourself at this point, where's the X-Men? And I'm going to tell you, the X-Men are following him in the X-Jet because Jean's, like, tracking him or whatever. Like, oh, I done picked him up again. Go left. And so the X-Men are about to attack when the Living Pharaoh takes his staff, or, like, his ankh, I think he calls it, or something like that. And he, like, uses it and, like, does a little laser doohickey, and it takes out the X-Jet. Now the X-Men are crashing. They're going down. Whoo! And what happens? Does Iceman, he tries to create ice wings, which to me would be heavier, but that don't work. But what happens is Angel uses his wings to somehow slow down the jet from crashing into the ocean and killing everyone, just with the power of his wings. Now, okay. I'm willing to believe a lot in these comics. I'm willing to believe that a man can grow big-ass wings and it not be, like, out of the ordinary. As a broad-shouldered person myself, I understand what big-shouldered people problems are. You know what I'm saying? Suspension of disbelief that Angel can use his wings to stop an entire 2-ton jet from, like, crashing in the ocean just by, like, straining. No. Nah, son. They lost me there for a second. I had to take a little second and be like, okay, I'm going to go to the next panel. But just when I was out, they pulled me back in with the X-Men goodness. Now, they're in Egypt, I guess? I don't know. They don't really say, but it's like pyramids, so I assume. Anyway, so they're in Egypt. I'm just going to go with that. And the Living Pharaoh starts tough-talking Scott. Now, this is what got me. He's like, you know, I'm going to murder you and your Alex Summers. He can only stop me, blah, blah. He starts monologuing, right? And Scott's like, you think you're tough? Have you ever heard of somebody called Magneto? This ain't nothing. I'm going to be out of this in like 12 minutes tops. Scotty too hottie, getting that trash talk. That's what's up. Now, after the trash talk session where he got schooled, the Living Pharaoh decides to go prepare for whatever ceremony he's going to do to Alex or whatnot. And the henchmen leave too. So they leave Scott and Alex by themselves. Now, what's Scott's grand plan to free Alex and get like this helmet thing off of him? Does he have like a kind of lockpick that he hid somewhere? Does he have some intricate, contraption that Hank built for him that he has in his pocket? Nah, son. What he decides to do is smack his head into the, tomb that Alex had until the tomb breaks so he smacks his head like that until the tomb breaks. His head don't break for some reason, and Alex gets free, and he frees Scott from the thing that's over his head. Now, mind you, Scott has never had his hands bound this whole time. Like, he wasn't tied up, he wasn't handcuffed, he wasn't nothing. He was just chilling there, walking with a thing on his head that he could have got away from as soon as the henchmen turned their back, this was the second time they done left him alone. So why didn't he free himself? I guess it looked cooler that he used his head literally instead of using it thinking figuratively. But Alex and him are free. Now, Alex and Scott versus the henchmen. And Alex is holding his own with no powers, man. He's, punching left and right, uppercut. Maybe he was on the, school boxing team in a poster like that. But Scott's like, "You're doing great, kid." And he's like, "Thanks, psych," because he doesn't want to give up as well that he and Cyclops are brothers because it could be problematic for him later on down the road. Now, the henchmen are getting served a nice helping of hands when the Living Pharaoh decides he wants to get in on the action. So as he's about to strike, who show up? Boom! But the Xmen. How did they get from that oceany tomb where their plane went down to Egypt, which is what I'm calling it, but they didn't say? I don't know. Is there some kind of side little story? Is there some panel explanation? No! Frustrating. God. So they just show up by magic. Now, almost immediately, once they get there, once he gets boots on the ground, Hank goes, "Oh, Scott, you and your brother Alex are doing such a great job." And the Living Pharaoh's like, "What? Brothers? I need to kill both these fools." Hank blows the cover that they've been working so hard to keep. The X-Men have a problem with this. They have a problem calling themselves their real names, not their, code names, while in battle. They're always like, "Good job, Bobby Boy," or "Hey, Worry," and they call her Jean. I've heard her call Marvel Girl like twice in 55 issues. Anyway, they need to work on that seriously because, once the villains start putting it together, well, he keeps calling him Bobby, and then this dude, I don't know. Anyway, there's just a problem the X-Men have, and Hank is supposed to be the smart one, and he totally blows their cover. Now, the Living Pharaoh goes to strike, and Alex is like, "Watch out!" And his powers manifest in that moment of tension, or whatever happened, his powers manifested. And they drew it. I don't think they had a 100% of what his powers were going to look like. So it looked like wave lines, or kind of, when they draw a cartoon character that stinks, like stinky lines. To help illustrate, I drew this picture of me with stinky lines. And, it's hot in the studio today, so, it's not too far off. But yeah, that's kind of what they had, was these wave lines where he's like, "Oh, watch out, radioactive man, watch out." And so his powers manifested, and Scott's like, "My brother got powers, he a mutant." And everybody's like, "Oh, end of main story." Let's get to the backup. Now, the backup story is about Angel's origin. It's another part to it. It's called Where Angels Dare to Tread. Now, the issue starts with a flashback. Way back in the time. Nah, baby, nah, baby. To 1963, the winter of 1963 to be specific, it said before the time of the Beatles, before Streisand, and before the Amazing Spider-Man. So we going way back. And Warren is starting to fight crime. Warren Worthington III is fighting crime as the Avenging Angel. He's swooping in, taking out people like he's a crime-fighting superhero. Now, one thing they did not address from the last origin issue backup story, when he was at school, dressed like a literal, heart-playing angel or whatever, is the kids at the school wanted to find out who he was. Did they? Did he graduate? We don't know, and they don't ever tell us. Frustrating. As the Avenging Angel, He has his little makeshift costume. He has a gun with gas, like a gas pellet gun that he uses to distract people. And he's got a huge, so I guess he graduated. He got a huge rooftop apartment that they made emphasize that it was $80 whole a month, $80 a month. And they were like, someone reading that was probably like, dang, that is a lot of quiche. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, the X-Men, which are just Cyclops, Bobby, and Papa Chuck Xavier, hear about this avenging angel and they think, well, maybe he's a mutant. We should go investigate it. So one day, Angel comes in from fighting crime, and in his swinging bachelor pad is two dudes who are like, hey, you're a mutant like us. You want to join the X-Men? And he's like, number one, how did you even get into this swinging bachelor pad? Two, what's a mutant? And three, what's an X-Men? End of backup story. Let's get to some final thoughts. All right, y'all, this one was about an 8.5 out of 10, and let me tell you why. It was a fun, action-packed issue. Like, we kind of we're getting slowly 2 origin stories in these, two-parters so far. We're getting the origin of Alex Summers, Havoc, except they don't call him Havoc yet. And we're getting Warren Worthington, the Angel's origin story. So basically, it's been action-packed on the Havoc side, or excuse me, the Alex Summers side, and the Warren story is kind of chugging along a little bit faster than the previous origin stories we've seen. So I've enjoyed it. They do leave a lot of unanswered questions, like did the X-Men swim to Egypt? And did Warren ever get his identity busted out? Because it's not like he could hide the wings from when he was going to, science class or whatever. But they're like, well, reasons. Despite that, I still enjoyed this issue. I cannot wait for next issue. But we're going to find that out in the next Tommy Reads X-Men coming up. If you like what you see or are mildly entertained, please hit that like and subscribe down here. Hit that bell notification in the corner. I think it's right there, or it could be right there. Just do me a solid and hit it and help spread the word about the Tommy Love Stuff channel, YouTube's best kept secret. We got a lot of great stuff on the channel. If you like Tommy Reads X-Men, there's plenty of other issues to check out in our playlist. If you like food reviews, check out the ChubCon reviews. We got all things pop culture. We even talk a little wrestling on this channel. So please check out the other stuff we got on the channel. Got a new video coming out for you soon. Until then, I appreciate you letting me entertain you. Later. The show in which I read each issue of X-Men. This one's called The Living Pharaoh. Oh, I'm a living pharaoh. Oh. Little Pro Jam humor for you. I don't think that's going to work.